CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.
Hello, wrestling collectors. This week I'm counting down top 5 eBay sales at auction of WWF LJN Wrestling Superstars action figures. And I'm only looking at completed eBay auctions because they tend to be more indicative of the real market than the buy it now type listings. Coming in at number 5 is King Harley Race at just under $1,000. It sold at auction on eBay for $910. This is part of Series 4, which came out in 1987. Also included tag teams like the Hart Foundation and the Killer Bees. And some of the wrestlers had accessories. So in Series 4, Jake Roberts had Damien, Coco Beware had Frankie, Mr. Fuji had his cane, Bob Orton had his cowboy hat, and of course Harley Race had his crown. He was King of the Ring at this time. In 1986, he won King of the WWF as part of the annual King of the Ring tournament. A little known fact is that Don Morocco was actually the first King of the Ring, crowned in 1985, but Harley Race was the first wrestler to integrate the King character into his gimmick, and he's one of the most popular Series 4 figures. The value is somewhat determined by the condition and completeness of the figure. The crown itself on loose versions can fetch 3 figures. In this case, Harley finds a spot on the top 5, mostly because the figure is graded by AFA, which stands for the Action Figure Authority, and received a grade of 80. The acrylic case that AFA uses is not cheap. I've used them myself, but it does assure that the buyer knows that the bubble and the card are intact in good condition. That's a common problem with the mint-on-card versions of the LJNs. Unfortunately, on this one, the price tag is right on the bubble, which does compromise the eye appeal, but otherwise it's a beautiful figure. Coming in at number 4 is Corporal Kirchner, mint-on-card version selling for a cool $1,000. So Corporal Kirchner was part of Series 3, which was released in 1986, and it's actually a relatively common figure. But what makes this one special is it is a variant. So Kirchner was released in 3 versions, one with a fully painted beard, one with just textured stubble, and one that was clean shaven. And the beard variant is arguably the rarest. The clean shaven is overwhelmingly more common. So finding a bearded one loose is difficult enough, but if a carded version one comes on the market, set collectors are going to jump. There's always going to be a demand for Corporal Kirchner LJN variants. So even though this particular one has a yellowing, cracked bubble, it's still demanding $1,000 as a bearded on-card variant. Number 3, in my opinion, is the best deal of this top 5. It just checks off so many boxes and has so much going for it. First of all, it's Hulk Hogan, the GOAT. And this is an important figure in the history of wrestling collectibles. Series 1, Hulk Hogan, WWF LJN. Second of all, it's carded. And third, it's a 5-back, which means it is part of the first release of the Series 1 LJNs. And the icing on the cake is this one is signed. And not only that, but the signature is well placed. It has really good eye appeal. I love this figure, even at $1,255. So Series 1 of the LJNs came out in 1984 and were released in a couple stages. The first 5 figures were somewhat of a test market to see if they would be popular. Contained Andre, Snuka, Hogan, the Iron Sheik, and Big John Studd. And the action figures were extremely popular. So they added Hillbilly Jim, Junkyard Dog, Nikolai Volkov, and Rowdy Roddy Piper as a second release in Series 1. The Hogan figure, however, is still the most iconic, and it's tough to find in good condition because so many kids would bring their figures to school, and of course Hulk Hogan would get a beating. So finding a carded 5-back Hogan is hard enough, let alone one in good condition, carded and signed. Coming in at number 2 is Ravishing Rick Rude at $1,525. So anytime a Wrestling Superstars 1989 black carded figure comes to auction, it's going to demand a high price. The 89 black card series are exceedingly rare. They were released only in Canada and in very limited quantities. The black card series contains repacks of certain superstars like Adrian Adonis, Bam Bam Bigelow, Honky Tonk Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. However, the stars of this release are the new figures which only came out on the black card. Haku, Blackstrap Anjay, the Warlord, Big Boss Man, Ultimate Warrior, and Ravishing Rick Rude. So $1,525 is actually a pretty modest price for a carded 1989 Wrestling Superstars action figure. This is a great pickup for whoever bought this. The sculpt on the Rick Rude is controversial. You can see his fists are actually molded right into his waist, so this is an unplayable figure, but that doesn't matter, it's a gem. He's got an anchor tattoo on his arm, he's got his trademark mustache, multicolored spandex tights, and the seller here offered the figure in a custom acrylic case. The card and bubble are in great shape, so this is a showpiece for sure. And coming in at number 1 is an unheard of Hart Foundation Tag Team Set, mint in the box for $5,238. Hart Foundation LJNs are expensive. The individual carded figures, which came out in Series 4, are expensive enough, but the box tag team version with the belts is incredibly rare. It's become a chase within the LJNs. These figures have a mystique to them. There were a few tag team sets available: the British Bulldogs, Killer Bees, Dream Team, which was Valentine and Beefcake, Strike Force, Sheik and Volkov, and Hillbilly Jim and Hulk Hogan. But the best one is the Hart Foundation for a few reasons. They were the champs, they were arguably one of the greatest tag teams ever, and they featured a young Bret Hitman Hart. So this one's in pretty good condition. It's the US version, it's got the English writing, and the case is in acrylic. So over $5,000 for this set is definitely not a surprise. It's extremely popular, it's rare, and it's a Hart Foundation tag team set. So thank you everyone for supporting my channel, for watching this video. I really appreciate the support. Have fun in your collecting. Stay true to the hobby. Peace.
CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.